Hello everybody and welcome to the ASI Digest, where we run through the biggest esports business related news stories of the week. I'm your host Tom Daniels, the sub-editor of Esports Insider, and in today's episode we have got 5 huge news stories. So in this week's episode we're going to be covering Overactive Media commencing trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, Carlton Curtis stepping down as Guild Esports executive chairman, Evil Genius is launching a League of Legends analytics platform called Factor.gg. Red Canids, Vivo Kied, Santos Esports and more invited to join the MPL Brazil for its inaugural season. And finally we're going to be talking about GameSquare Esports acquiring Cut and Sew and Zoned for $7.85 million. But before we jump into this episode of the Digest, I do want to thank our partners, fan monetization platform OmniCoach. So if you're an esports business looking to boost fan monetization by connecting sponsors with fans through gamified solutions, then head over to their website. So let's get on with the digest. Our first story of the ASI Digest sees us talk about Overactive Media Corp, which is the parent company of Mad Lions, Toronto Ultra and Toronto Defiant, announcing that they will begin trading on the TSX Venture Exchange. Now, negotiations to get Overactive Media on the TSX Venture Exchange has been going on for a while, and on July 9th, Overactive Media completed a qualifying transaction with capital pool company Abigail Capital Corporation. Now, as a result, this saw a reverse takeover of Abigail occur by the shareholders of Overactive Media. This has resulted in Abigail changing its name to Overactive Media Corporation, and now the company will trade on the TSX Venture Exchange under the ticker OAM. Now, there are a few other details on how the transaction occurred and kind of like the intricacies behind that on Esports Insider's website, so if you do want to check those out, then do go to the website and go to the news article. But this is really significant, I think, for Overactive Media, because they have become one of the growing list of esports companies which are now becoming publicly listed and going onto stock exchanges. Just a few examples here is Guild Esports, Enthusiast Gaming, Esports Entertainment Group, Semper Fortis, GameSquare Esports, among many others now. We're kind of seeing that this is trying to become a viable way now for esports businesses, and I'm all for it. I think Overactive Media has done a lot of good work, both from a competitive standpoint, especially with the Mad Lions, their League of Legends team, and also from a development standpoint. I think it's very interesting to see, like I said, Overactive Media on the stock market, and I look forward to kind of seeing what happens in the future. I did touch on Guild Esports like briefly in the other story, but they have also made it into the news this week, as Guild Esports has announced that Carlton Curtis has made the personal decision to step down as executive chairman. Alongside stepping down from the role, it was also revealed that following talks with the board of directors, Curtis would completely leave the organization altogether. Now, as of this writing, Guild Esports has not kind of chosen a direct replacement for Curtis. However, the organization has appointed non-executive director and esports investor Derek Law as its new non-executive chairman. Now, for those who don't know, Curtis was involved with Guild since its inception in June 2020 and has overseen what has been considered a strong period of growth for the organization, albeit the organization not being around for that long. This includes the launch of the Guild Academy, the organization's expansion into a range of titles, and a lot of funding, and also going on to the London Stock Exchange, as we mentioned in the previous story. Now, I do think that this move does come across very unexpected. Like, Guild obviously had just announced that the losses, despite the fact, you know, they've got a lot of revenue coming in, and then kind of Curtis leaving. It is kind of a bit weird seeing these kind of two things occur quite close to each other. However, I do hope that Curtis does still stay in esports. I think he's a valuable asset to a lot of people. And also, as Guild has kind of pointed out, this does not, or is not expected to completely change like their future plans and their kind of future direction going forth. So I do think that this is actually a really interesting development in the inner workings of Guild, and only time will tell to see kind of what the repercussions of this will be, not just for Curtis, but for Guild Esports as a whole. Our third story of the ASI Digest sees us talk about North American esports organization Evil Geniuses, and they have announced the launch of a new esports analytics platform called Factor.gg. According to the release, Factor looks to provide users with a deep analysis of professional League of Legends leagues. Moreover, the goal of the free-to-use platform is to build upon other data solutions that are available on the market right now, to add kind of more statistics and features to break down kind of micro elements of professional play. On launch, Evil Geniuses has also announced that Factor has secured partners in fantasy sports platform Monkey Knife Fight, cryptocurrency exchange platform Coinbase, and also a content licensing partner in One Esports, which will feature Factor stories, data, insights across its properties. Out of all the factors which Factor has kind of announced, probably the one that stood out to me was called Power, which is performance objectively weighed and rated. Now, the Power rating, is kind of an assessment of the strength of a team or player, and according to the release, this is through data scientists identifying over 10 statistical categories which measure kind of League of Legends play. Overall, I do think that Factor does have the potential to be a very useful tool, especially when it comes to kind of talent recruitment, scouting, and analysis of opponents. Now, obviously, we do have to put out the fact that Evil Geniuses has launched this, so you've got to hope that, fairness kind of does come into play, and I do hope that that will stay like that, and I do think that it will be a very fair and unbiased platform. I do think that if this is utilized correctly, it could be a very useful tool for a lot of organizations, and hopefully we kind of see more tools like this start to emerge in other esports as well. Our penultimate story of the ASI Digest sees us talk about mobile esports, and Mobile Legends Bang Bang has announced the 6 invited teams which will participate in the inaugural MPL Brazil season. The invited teams are Red Canids, Vivo Kied, Santos Esports, Black Dragons, Imperial Esports, and Dream Max. All 6 teams will compete in a regular season alongside 2 open qualifier sides when the season officially commences on August 14th. Probably 2 of the biggest sides which are competing in this kind of list of invited teams are Red Canids and Vivo Kied. Red Canids obviously are a franchise in the CBLOL, which is Riot Games' Brazilian League of Legends competition. Meanwhile, Vivo Kied currently has teams competing in Free Fire, PUBG Mobile, and League of Legends Wild Rift, with the latter currently competing under the name Kaid Stars. Other notable names is Santos Esports, obviously the esports division of Brazilian football club Santos, and Black Dragons, who are regarded as one of the oldest esports organizations in Brazil, having been founded in 1997. Overall, I think this is actually a decent inaugural lineup for MPL Brazil. I do feel like there is an omission in terms of I look at the likes of Loud and Fluxo as too. I think it'd be very interesting to see what the viewership will be, not just of the open qualifiers, which are taking place, I believe, in July, but also the actual regular season which take place in August. I think it's a very interesting time though for Brazilian mobile esports, with Wild Rift and Mobile Legends Bang Bang both opening leagues roughly at the same time. Final story of the ASI Digest sees us talk about GameSquare Esports, and following the acquisition of North American esports organization Complexity, the company has announced that it has also acquired privately held marketing agency Cut and Sew and Zoned. Now, according to the release, the purchase will cost around $7.85 million, with GameSquare paying in cash and shares. It's also important to note that despite acquiring the marketing agency, the co-founders and management teams of Swingmen, which is Matt Hillman, Damon Woodruff, and Sean Mayer, will continue to run Cut and Sew and Zoned. I do think that the acquisition of a marketing agency does open up GameSquare Esports to potential more lucrative partnerships in the future, and obviously I can imagine some tie-ins going in with Enthusiast Gaming on potential kind of partners, which could be leading into that as well. To put into perspective, some of Cut and Sewn's clients in the esports and gaming business include Amazon's Crown Channel, TIV, Mavericks Chairs, HyperX, and Play One Up. In the end, GameSquare Esports has heavily invested in, now 2 kind of major entities. Firstly, in Complexity, which was kind of a major story, and then also in the marketing agency Cut and Sew and Zoned as well. So, it'd be really interested to see if there's going to be even further investments made, or whether they're just going to kind of consolidate these and kind of boost these up before they go on to another venture as well. It's a really interesting time though, and I would definitely keep an eye on GameSquare Esports. And that is it for this week's ASI Digest. If you do want to read up on the stories that I have covered, then don't forget to head over to Esports Insider's website. We also have a lot of other content which has come out this week as well. Also, if you do want to follow us, then don't forget to follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and any other social media platform that you're listening to me on right now. But until then, I'll see you next week.